like she's doing it, yeah.
Oh, good evening. I'll now call to order the March 9th, 2023 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Smith. First, our staff support today. Clerk to the Board, Tony Mayernick. County Counsel is Assistant County Counsel Jeff Munns. Roll call, Commissioner Shull.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Commissioner Schrader will be joining online, but is not online at the moment. I'll let you know when she is.
Okay.
Chair Smith.
Here, thank you very much. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. We are holding this meeting in person and virtually. If you've joined us via Zoom for this meeting and are interested in providing public comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. General public comment will be taken at the usual allotted time. I would like to remind all participants, including staff, all elected officials, and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Orders will be enforced in this business meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. Gary Schmidt, can you introduce the first item?
Yes, Chair Smith. First tonight is a public hearing. It is approval of annexation proposal CL22-006 to Clackamas County Service District Number 1. There is no fiscal impact. No county general funds are involved. Jeff Munns, Assistant County Counsel, will present.
Thank you. Yes, good evening, Chair, Commissioners. This is an annexation to our Clackamas County Service District Number 1. This type of annexation is initiated by the property owner. In this case, the single-family residence. They have a failing septic system. They are in the city of Happy Valley, and in that situation, they need to be annexed to our service district to receive sewer service. So they have done that. In reviewing their petition, it meets the criteria and is in the proper form. The property is located at 8750 Southeast 155th Avenue, Space 6B in Happy Valley. It's in the northern portion of Happy Valley. The petition meets the criteria in ORS Chapter 198 and the Metro Code. Happy Valley and our Clackamas County Service District Number 1 have an IGA to provide these services in this area. And so the staff recommendation is to approve the annexation. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Jeff. Do commissioners have questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I will now open the meeting for public testimony. I will take in-person testimony first. Is there anybody in the room who would like to testify on this annexation? Going once, going twice, sold. Okay. Tony, anybody online?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. I will now close the public hearing and ask if there is any further discussion. I will entertain a motion.
I move we adopt the board order approving annexation proposal CL 22-006.
Second.
Your Honor,
Yes, that's fine. Commissioner Shull has moved that we adopt the board order approving annexation proposal CL 22-006, and Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
aye.
Commissioner Shull.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Has Commissioner Schrader joined us yet?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. The motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much, everybody. Gary, what's next?
Next is the consent agenda. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Clackamas County Consent Agenda. Elected officials, item 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. Disaster Management, item 1, approval of Amendment 3, adding funding for building damage assessment training to the 2020 Urban Area Security Initiative subrecipient agreement with the City of Portland. Amendment value is $11,000. Agreement value is increased to $290,191. No county general funds are involved. Transportation and Development, item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for right-of-way services for the Southeast Johnson Creek Boulevard, 79th Place to 82nd Avenue project. Total agreement value is $10,000. Total project value is $2,856,705. Funding through the Community Road Fund, County Road Fund, Development Agency, federal funds, and House Bill 2017. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval to apply for a regional travel options grant with Metro for transportation demand management strategy planning. Grant value is $215,000 for 3 years with a match of $24,607. Funding is through Metro and federal funds with match funded through County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved. Item 3, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College to provide scholarships to student education programs. Total value is $70,000 for 1 year. Funding through county lottery dollars. No county general funds are involved. Health, Housing, Human Services, Item 1, approval of Amendment 2, extending the duration and adding language to the scope of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services for the operation of Community Developmental Disability Services. Amendment value is $393,450. Agreement value is increased to $28,518,535 for 2 years. Funding is through federal Medicaid funds and state general funds. No county general funds are involved. Item 2, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Portland Opportunities Industrialization Center for Education and Outreach to African American and Latino, Latina, Latinx communities for the Commercial Tobacco Prevention Community Grant. Grant value is $20,000 for 6 months. Funding through Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Item 3, approval of a memorandum of understanding with Multnomah County for participation in a Care Oregon naloxone distribution project. Agreement value is $440,000 for 21 months. Funding is through Care Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Item 4, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Portland Open Bible Community Pantry for education and outreach to people of color for the Commercial Tobacco Prevention Community Grant. Grant value is $20,000 for 6 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Item 5, approval of a revenue services agreement with Health Share of Oregon for reimbursement of community-based public health services to Medicaid members. Agreement value is $664,258 for 1 year. Funding is through Health Share of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Item 6, approval to apply for SNAP training and employment program funding to increase employment services in Clackamas County. Anticipated grant value is $163,000 for 1 year with a match of $163,000. Funding is through Oregon Department of Human Services, Metro Supportive Housing Services Funds, and $42,000 in budgeted county general funds. Item 7, approval of amendment number 11, adjusting fiscal year 2022 and 2023 funding and updating program language to a revenue intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Health Authority for the financing of public health services. Amendment value is $319,214.48. Agreement value is increased to $16,405,712.52 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Item 8, approval of Clackamas County facility lease agreement with Genoa Healthcare LLC for rental of clinical space. Agreement value is $8,118.48 for 9 months. Funding is through Genoa Healthcare. No county general funds are involved. Madam Chair, that concludes the list.
Thank you very much, Tony. Is there any commissioner who wishes to remove anything from the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Commissioner West has moved for approval of the consent agenda, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Gary, what's next?
Next is public communication, Chair.
Thank you. We have some folks who come today to talk about a very exciting project, and I know this is very dear to Commissioner Schrader's heart. She wanted to be here. She was going to Zoom in, but she's very ill tonight, so she may decide, I'm just not going to do it tonight. So I have been asked that the presenters go in this order, and that's certainly fine. Charlie Stinson, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. We usually limit to 3 minutes because since you're the only ones in the room, so you just say what you need to say.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, and thank you for having us. Chairman, staff, my name is Charlie Stinson. I live at 1892 North Birch Street in Canby, Oregon. I've been on the board of the Canby Center for 6 years and am the current chairman. The Canby Center renews dignity and inspires learning through a variety of current and planned programs. In so doing, we are effective in the upstream prevention of houselessness. TCC programs are designed to connect youth and families with relationship-based solutions to poverty. In 2022, the Canby Center provided over 24,000 total services. Short-term help includes food, clothing, rent, and utilities assistance, dental and vision care. This no-cost short-term help gives families and individuals relief to move a step closer to longer-term solutions. The encouragement from the Canby Center staff and volunteers, along with the expectation of personal responsibility, we require 1 hour of volunteer time per month for each person in the program, results in members who participate in their own solutions. Long-term poverty alleviation is happening through programs designed to inspire learning for both adults and children. Adults are offered finance classes, basic finance, buying a home, tax prep basics, and life skill classes such as sewing and health cooking in both English and Spanish. Our Reading Mentors program, one-on-one weekly reading with an adult at school, after-school tutoring, and a soon-to-launch youth mentoring program called Growing Together are effective in helping children break free of poverty. Each of these programs operate from the strength of positive and affirming relationships with community members. The Canby Center reaches out to help houseless individuals in our community through hot lunches 4 times a week, laundry machines available for use, and in the new facility, showers for renewed personal dignity. This regular connection with others in the community contributes to a safe environment both for the houseless and for others in Canby. Thank you for your consideration of support for TCC, which will help us renew dignity to more people in the Canby area. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We have several people testifying on the same issue. If you don't mind, we'll have them all come up and say what you need to say, and then, we have time tonight, Board, that we could just discuss this with Gary and whomever, if you don't mind doing that. Next up, Sarah Moggenheimer.
Good evening, County Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to join this evening. My name is Sarah Moggenheimer. My address is 24945 South Malina Road, Canby, Oregon. As you look at the opportunity to support the capital expansion project for the Canby Center, I would like to provide my personal experience with the impact this organization has in our community. As a lifelong resident of Canby with 4 children in the Canby School District, my family and I are very invested in serving in numerous capacities across our community. From my work, I can tell you, the Canby Center is a cornerstone of connection, partnership, and action within our town. They work collaboratively with local schools, service organizations, over 20 churches, more than 35 local businesses, and 20 foundations to maximize the impact they have on those most in need. Significant support is provided from local gift-in-kind donors like Cutsforth Market, Caruso Produce, and others who last year provided over 600,000 pounds of food and 105,000 pounds of clothing. The list of partners, contributors, and volunteers supporting the center is really more than I could possibly account for in the next 3 minutes. With 4 kids spanning from elementary to high school, I spend a significant amount of time in our schools. Not only is the Canby Center closely tied to the school in proximity, it's directly across the street from the high school, it is interwoven in various ways across every grade level. In 2018, they fully implemented a Reading Mentors program across all 6 of our elementary schools. This brings a caring adult into the schools to read one-on-one with students once a week. This is pivotal for our youngest readers. They've partnered with the district to host no-cost summer camps for students, last year providing a fun and active experience for over 195 campers. They also operate a Backpack Buddies program. From my experience, I can tell you this program is a well-oiled machine, dispensing food to specific students in each school every week. Each year, 10,000 backpack meals are distributed to students experiencing food insecurity. These are just a few of the many areas Canby Center collaborates with our schools to meet the needs of the students and their families. The Canby Center's ability to identify the strengths in our community partners, collaborate, and then deliver real results for people is unlike any organization I've worked with. Their partnership-driven approach maximizes their impact in the community by providing a suite of support mechanisms for families, including funding, volunteer opportunities, food and clothing resources, classes, tutoring, and more. With these established and high-functioning partnerships in place, the possibilities and additional services that can be provided with an expansion of their facilities is really pivotal. This is an important decision, and I appreciate your time today to hear how this investment will significantly impact the Canby Center and our most vulnerable populations. When our community continues to come together in partnership, we can truly care for and provide dignity to our neighbors in need. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next, Frank Cutsforth. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. I tipped over my dog here last week, so I'm kind of got an injured ankle, but thanks for having us.
They'll do that to you if you're not careful,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
Well, welcome.
So Frank Cutsforth, 225 Northeast Territorial Road, Canby. I'm here to kind of represent the business community. Our business has been in business for 95 years. I'm the third generation. My kids are fourth, and I have a granddaughter fifth. So we might make 100. Canby's been a really special place, and a lot of things have gone through Canby in the years. Police get along well. School district, as you see tonight, everybody works to have a great community. A few years ago, when the Canby Center was formed, that's a relationship business as we are. Their relationship with all the people that in need and others. And the volunteerism is tremendous. It's not just helping people to show up, it's the volunteerism that goes into it too. That's the whole community. I appreciate that. It has involved to people that serve all around. It's not just about food. It's about clothing, connecting with families, kids, school district, learning finances in the classes we provide, language. It's help people navigate through life that need to stop off to get going. One of the components that Canby Center makes at work is our services. And the thing that really makes a difference to me is people have to volunteer back. So if you get a service, you heard it, they volunteer time back to a thing that it's not just a giveaway. And that's something I think is a big deal. We need to have dignity, and people like to give service. Just one comment. A few years ago, I went out on the street to businesses. We were chasing money to keep things alive and keep it well. I went into one business with a cold call. And this cold call was, I asked a gentleman if he would help us out in the Canby Center. Thinking I got $20 or $30 on whatever it was. He gave me $600 a month for helping out the center. So that kind of tells you the flavor of
Wow.
what people like. Thanks for listening to us. It's a great thing.
Thank you very much. Up next, Ray Gordon. It's nice to see you back.
Chair and board, thank you for having me. Also, I want to give a big thanks to the Canby Center for asking me to do to talk, and then also it gives me an opportunity to see how far I've come. So I'm Ray Gordon, and for 10 years I worked for Clackamas County. In 2016, I decided that I wanted to pursue my passion of being a full-time musician. Woo, woo. So I had an amazing few years. I played all over. I got to play out of country. I got to play in Memphis and Boston. Had an incredible time entertaining people and meeting people and living my dream. So then COVID hit. Dun, dun, dun. And I remember the first festival that was canceled like it was yesterday. Then every week, every day, there was another gig canceled. And everything was dropping like flies on the wall. Venues were closing. People I knew were losing their livelihood. People didn't know how they were going to pay their rent, their mortgage. All these artists and stuff that just didn't know what to do. I was worrying about food. I was worrying about feeding a 100-pound German Shepherd. And I was worrying about losing my house. I was really stressed. I was trying really hard to find another position anywhere where I could work and get back on track and not lose my house. I became 6 months behind in my mortgage. It was really, really dire. Then a Clackamas County, wife of a Clackamas County employee that I love dearly said, you know, you should check out the Canby Center. I said, the Canby Center? She said, yes. So I started going there. I started getting food. They never asked me how I got into the situation. You know, my mother called it my midlife crisis. I called it my what if crisis. But then what if I never followed my dream became, what if I'm not going to eat? What if I'm not going to get a situation where I'm getting money and get a job again? When I went to the Canby Center, and they didn't ask that, they just said, what do you need? I got what they needed, and I also helped some other families that I knew in Canby because I couldn't have all the food myself. It's just me and a dog. So because I started eating regularly, I was able to concentrate on getting a job. I was very lucky to come back to Clackamas County in a temp position under Emergency Operations Center. Funny enough, helping at the food box program for social services. And it was incredible to go from not knowing if I was going to eat to being able to help people in social services eat when they were food insecure. So that full circle showed me how far I'd come. I am now in a great regular position with a really great organization. And I can look back and sincerely say that Canby Center had a hand in me getting back on track. I got caught up on my mortgage. The dog eats regularly, and I eat regularly. And I owe it all to the Canby Center, and I hope that you consider their proposal.
Thank you. That's a great story. Wonderful story.
Sing it again. Woo!
Yes. And I've listened to you and your band. Oh, it's a lot of fun. Ray Keene.
Good evening. My name is Ray Keene. I live at 152 Northeast 9th Avenue in Canby, and I serve as the executive director of the Canby Center. Over the years, since 2008, the Canby Center has provided 174,000 services worth more than $12 million to residents in Clackamas County, primarily in the Canby, Hubbard, Aurora area. We are faith-motivated, and we are motivated to serve all people. About 2/3 of the people that we serve are Hispanic, and that's why about half of our 10 FTE staff are bilingual. We are interdependence focused, that is on building community, not focused on creating dependency on our programs, and neither are we trying to encourage people to sort of pull themselves up by their bootstraps toward an independence model. Our theory of change is based in compassion and accountability. We transform lives in ways that oftentimes cash distributing programs simply can't. It's because our solutions are relationship-based. Those solutions are the thing that addresses what I would call the poverty spiral, where people emotionally start to go down as they go further into poverty. We seek to triple in size our facility from 5,000 square feet to over 16,000 square feet. This will bring a 400% increase to the food storage and redistribution capacity at the Canby Center. We have seen a $1.125 million grant from the state of Oregon. The check is in the bank, and we're grateful for that. We're in dialogue now with the city of Canby and helping us financially with some offsets for our service development charges. And now we're in front of you. The Canby Center is a grassroots, grounded organization. 90% of our support since we opened our doors in 2008 has come from individuals, businesses, churches within our community. We're completely debt-free. We own our land, our building, and we will continue to be debt-free as we work on this building project. There's no loans involved. The total cost for the building is $6.15 million. We have about $800,000 remaining to raise, And that's why we're here tonight. We would love to ask if you would consider a gift, a grant of about $500,000 to help us close the gap and finish this project. The Canby Center is homegrown and aspirational. By homegrown, we have roots in Clackamas County. We care about this county. We've learned a lot in Canby, but we desire to share this unique model with other communities in the county. And so we think this can make a big difference in this region. We understand you may have questions. There are answers. Over 120 influential community leaders have given financially in support of this project in seeking to raise far more than just a building. Please join us in this once-in-a-generation opportunity to raise youth and families out of poverty.
Well, thank you, Ray. I'd like you to answer a couple questions.
Absolutely.
You say you have $800,000 to raise left, but you're only asking us for $500,000.
Yes.
Where are you going to get the other $300,000?
We continue to seek funding support from the community. We'll have our open house coming up in about a week, and then we have another event, which is a fundraising event at Willamette Valley Country Club. We'll be looking to raise, we hope there, over $100,000 through support from the community. We're also doing a buy a brick program, so $250, $500, and $1,000 bricks that folks can purchase to help make sure that we can open our doors.
Well, this has certainly been a huge success, and I think the board members, we know about it somewhat, and we have this wonderful brochure that you prepared for us, and Gary and I talked earlier about this. I think you may be required to submit a formal application laying out everything, and
Certainly.
somebody else can do the paperwork for you. But Gary, can you talk about the possible funding sources for this? What's available and what's not available?
Yes, the best, if you're eligible, would be ARPA, the American Federal Recovery Funds. And commissioners, you've given those type of funds for other construction type projects. So we're
Right.
seeing if this is an eligible project for that. Community development block grant funds that we get from the federal government. Unfortunately, there's an application period which you've just missed, but we're seeing what could be possible there. There might be some funds in health, housing, and human services because the programs you provide are social service based. So there may be some funding streams there we need to investigate. There's always general fund commissioners. If you were to direct me to do that, we would make that happen. So there are many pots of funds. My staff's working on all the possibilities to present back to the board for their consideration.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, so commissioners can speak on this, but I would like to see you cross the finish line very much. But we'd like to take a look at what you've done in your portfolio and then look at all the different possibilities. And it may come from several different areas at the county.
Wonderful.
But commissioners, what's your thoughts? Paul?
Well, great to hear the good work you're doing. And I think I've said this before, in my 12 years of being a commissioner, I've learned that the community is very gracious, very compassionate, and it's come together all around the county to do things similar to you, what you're all doing, and then some. So, and with that often comes requests like this. We had our grant program where we divvied out a little, very competitive,
Yes.
and when we did our ARPA allocation, very competitive, a lot of agencies. So it's always easy to say yes, but behind every yes are probably a dozen or 2 dozen or 3 dozen no's.
Yes.
So we have to make sure whatever we do fairly and judiciously and give everyone an opportunity. So I don't know how we do that. So that'd be my question, how we do this in a way, because there are people have lined up for the ARPA dollars that a little bit remaining, I think. We don't know for sure. We don't know what some of the costs are remaining. We might have some projects in the wings that are, we're waiting for the cost allocations to come or the estimates to come. So, but thank you for everything that you do, and we'll look at it, figure out if we can find a way to do it fairly for all.
I think so. 2 commissioners are in the queue. Gary, you're on?
Yes, Commissioner Schrader would like to speak.
Yeah, Commissioner Schrader.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I wanted to thank Tony for getting me in because of my technology challenged, way of doing things. I have visited this project. I know Commissioner Schull has as well. It's a great project. It's a fantastic community model. It really would be extraordinary if we could expand this across the rest of the county and help them locally in Canby. But I'm going to also agree with Commissioner Savis in that we have gotten, I don't remember what the exact number was, but for example, an ask for ARPA dollars from some of our all nonprofits under the umbrella. There's like 10 or 15 nonprofits involved with this. I think it had to do with children and community centers and Clackamas Women's Services, Parrot Creek, the other one, Northwest Family Services. So one of the things I'm going to suggest with this program, because I think it's so excellent, we could use ARPA dollars, but then, there are other people that have also requested them. So it's kind of a balancing act. But one of the things I looked at this afternoon was the criteria for the community development block grant programs. And their model and what they're doing in the Canby community seems a perfect chance for this, a fit actually for these CDBG dollars. It's unfortunate they missed the application, but I think they'd be such a strong candidate for CDBG dollars that if we don't use ARPA dollars for this, and again, it's kind of the equity with the rest of our nonprofits we've been supporting, that we should really take a closer look at CDBG, and I'm sure Commissioner Shull and I would be really willing to look at that. It's an excellent program. I was very impressed when I was there, and I'm very proud that the community I had lived in for 36 years is moving ahead with this kind of a program. Thank you.
Great, Commissioner Schrader. Yes, it does. Social service would be perfect for the community block grant. We've used that for other projects, would more than cover this. Like you say, it depends how long you can wait for the application. I don't know that, so it's a timing issue on your part. We have two other commissioners, Commissioner West and then Commissioner Shull. You finish up.
So as you guys all probably know, I'm the new guy. About 60 days. Gary was doing the daily count for me. I apologize that I am not as professional looking as my colleagues. I just got back from the hospital. I still work as a nurse a couple days a month at OHSU. I'm just learning about you guys.
Yeah.
And I can't help but notice how your worldview and how you handle significant barriers in people's lives mirrors ours. I cannot, even just reviewing your packet, how there is so much kinship in how we want to address a lot of different barriers that people's face. And frankly, how often we see them mismanaged throughout the Portland metro area or in our region. Something in your booklet stood out to me. I highlighted it quickly because it speaks to the worldview. It says, dignity in the design of our building are rooted in the dignity in God's design for all people.
Yes.
So I know that what's so special about that worldview is that you guys are telling us that you believe that every person has intrinsic worth and value.
That's correct.
That everyone is created in the image of God.
Yes.
And because of that, they are worthy of care and love.
Every person.
And I believe that this board believes that also, that worldview informs our work, and we try to look to that when we want to do something. And so when people need to recover from barriers and they're having significant challenges in their lives, some of their own doing, maybe not, irrelevant sometimes, is the best way to get back to self-sufficiency is when an entire community surrounds that person, provides them the necessary support. So government alone can't do this, right? But
That's
you guys
exactly
are doing
right.
something better than we could ever do on our own, or could ever come out of Salem or the county or the feds. You're doing it better. Your outcomes are good. And one way I know this is I look at your stakeholders. It's individual community members, 53%.
That's right.
Foundations, nonprofits are being stakeholders and saying, we care about this population, 14%. Churches, faith community says, we're buying into this. This meets our worldview and our mission. Businesses are saying, we want to help this population. This has good outcomes. This is the type of program we believe in. This is how you bring holistic care. and then there's some other beyond that. I can't make, I hope that we can come to a place where we find you that funding.
Thank you.
And I don't want to overpromise, underdeliver, but I think that this board, and I hope that this board is motivated to help you continue the work that you do better than us. And we can't have a healthy community without you. And I think we all recognize that you guys are foundational in the safety net to a strong Canby and Clackamas County. And thank you for modeling what good outreach is all about, and teaching us what that is about. And so with that, I will stop talking because they know I'll keep going. But yeah, thank you for coming and presenting.
Thank you,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
West.
Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Yes, thank you for coming this evening from Canby. I appreciate your testimony this evening. What I've learned about the Canby Center is that it is a faith-based organization, and with that kind of faith, one can do things with a few loaves and a few fishes. And basically, that's the same methodology that was used thousands of years ago and that is used at the Canby Center. And the values of the Canby Center lead to a healthy community. If all of our communities shared your values, we'd have much healthier communities. I'm impressed with the efficiency in which every dollar is used by the Canby Center. You do a lot with a little, and with a little more, you'll be able to expand even more. The idea of providing assistance to keep people out of poverty, and at the same time addressing some of the drivers of poverty and correcting that through your reading program, your education program, instilling the need for personal responsibility and the dignity that comes from that. You've recognized that very important thing. Problems in our society are crushing the human spirit in many places we look. And the Canby Center knows how to counter those problems, and I appreciate that. I support whatever we can do in the way of monetary help to assist the Canby Center to achieve your goals. One final thing is when we look around the region, we see the hundreds of millions of dollars going to nonprofits to support people in need. Some more efficient, some less. But the Canby Center, I have very good confidence that whatever you receive from the county, you're going to use in a very wise manner. So again, thank you for coming, and I look forward in the very near future to coming down to Canby and having a coffee and a donut in your new building. Thank you.
We would love that.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah. I went on the website, so you have a very navigable website. People can donate, so I'm saying that out loud so that anyone watching this can know they can go to the canbycenter.org and find a way to contribute, and I will as well, out of my own, just personally, not that much money, not as much.
You're not going to give him $800,000, Paul?
I don't have enough to do that, so.
Darn it.
But can you just tell us more literally about, I heard approximately additional 10,000 square feet. And for what purpose, roughly?
Yes,
Is
excellent.
it warehousing food?
Excellent question. We are in 5,000 square feet now. We do a lot in that space. We will be tripling in size. The addition is primarily three things. One is warehousing of food. It's a 20-foot tall ground floor, first floor, for forklift accessible walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, and dry goods food storage. That's how we get 400% more food storage capacity in that space. Warehousing. Above that is a classroom that's a 44-seat dividable classroom. Half of that classroom has been paid for through a $50,000 gift from the foundation that is for the Canby Rotary Club. Another $50,000 gift came from Embold Credit Union, who partners with us in our financial education programming, and they've helped with that other side of the classroom upstairs. We'll also be adding some offices upstairs. Our staff are growing, and they need to be able to have one-on-one quiet conversations with clients who are coming through for case management. And so that's a big part of our changes. We'll add some health services in the front of our space, and we'll be able to expand to serve more people through hot meals and such in our cafeteria as we're able to move about 5 cubicles out and up into offices. So that's a big part of the change there.
Okay, great. Well, I'll be reaching out to you just to find out what you've done for
Thank
for
you.
fundraising, and, you know, I'm sure you've done with all of you and all your backgrounds, I'm sure you've done quite a bit, know quite a bit, but there's just some models out there that have done very well.
Yes.
Clackamas Service Center is one example where they recently expanded to a warehouse on the east side, and very similar for more, really all for food mainly, for the primary purpose. They had a fire. Their facility burned down here several years ago, and we were able to get them back up in operation. So there's been a lot of outreach, and perhaps there's a way of maybe talking to them, maybe
Sure.
some of their contributors as well. So
Yeah, that'd be great.
Love to find a way to help.
And we'd love to have each of you through for a tour. You're welcome. It's a great way to see what's happening.
Commissioner Schrader, any concluding remarks, or are you good?
I'm good. I think it's a worthy project, and I think one of our goals in this county is to build the non-governmental, nonprofit infrastructure in our county to partner with us. So I think they're a prime candidate to be part of that continuum of care that we give. Thank you.
Well, Gary, I think that you can work with the group. I have their cards here. Is there a main contact? Ray, is that you?
I can be the main
You
contact.
have your card here
Yeah.
with
It is
information
in the
on it. We'll
packet.
pass it on. Gary will reach out to you, or a person from the county will reach out to you so you can fill out an application stating everything you've done, who you are, et cetera, et cetera.
Very good. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it so much.
I like this project. A lot. A lot, Gary.
Understood.
Thank you.
We're grateful for your time.
Okay, so, thank you all for coming in to our evening business meeting. We're going to continue with the public communication. Tony, do we have anybody on Zoom who'd like to testify?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, boy, that's going to be fast. Wow. I know. I will now close the public communication portion of this meeting, and we'll move on to the county administrator update. Gary.
Yes, thank you. That's me. I like to use my time to share the good news of our county programs and our county staff. Tonight, I want to recognize human resource employee Jen Johnson, a member of our recruitment team who got a wonderful congratulatory note from a person applying for a job at Clackamas County. That person said, "I want to acknowledge and say thank you for this update about my application. In this very harsh world of job searches where a person gets ignored and treated poorly, which seems like a standard practice, this communication from you, Jen, really means a lot and adds some humanity and respect back into the job search experience. Thank you. It is appreciated." So thank you to Jen, our employee, who was just being courteous to someone applying for a job, and it meant a lot to that person.
Wow.
So thank you, Jen. Next, our road maintenance crews always get wonderful recognition, and this is no exception. A resident in Oak Grove wrote, "Thank you for the great job of clearing and maintaining River Road during the snow and ice event. I saw the plow drivers go by working hard to clear the roads. Thank you for keeping the bike lanes cleared with the sweeper." A resident in Damascus wrote, "Thank you to everyone involved in the recent drainage cleaning and rebuild on Borges Road near Tillstrom Road. It is very much appreciated, and thank you for plowing the snow." So in particular, our road crews do fantastic work year-round, and especially during our recent snow and ice events. Finally, I want to recognize our county procurement manager, Ryan Rice. He recently gave a presentation to the Oregon Department of Administrative Services on optimal procurement practices for small business owners in Oregon. And a state manager with the Oregon Department of Administrative Services wrote about Ryan, to Ryan, "I can't thank you enough, Ryan, for braving the weather and providing those businesses that attended the information on how Clackamas does business. You did it seamlessly, off the cuff, without slides, and captured local government contracting at Clackamas County. Please forward this to your manager as a reminder of how important you are to county procurement and others doing business with Clackamas County. You are the star and did an amazing job presenting how, what, and what not to do during a solicitation process with a public agency. We look forward to working with you again. So I know you all know Ryan. He's indeed a fantastic person, and he was a great credit to Clackamas County at this statewide event. That is my news for today. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. We will now go on to Commissioner Communication. Commissioner Savas, you're up first.
Great, thank you, Chair. As usual, I've been pretty well inundated with people talking about how they can help fight the tolling situation upon us, and also people that have been trying to figure out a way to address the housing crisis, being driven economically, frankly, as these fine people have stated. We do seem to be in a path, unfortunately, for a lot of people falling into poverty. The concern really for how those two touch each other is that we are hearing constantly that a lot of people are living on the edge, and simply the rent increase of $100 can drive some people out on the street. They can lose their place, an unexpected doctor bill, an auto repair bill, whatever it may be. But who would ever imagine that the tolling potentially is going to take money out of people's pockets when they have to go through that area. We had ODOT here on Wednesday to talk about their proposal of tolling, and anyone who travels through rush hour, my calculation was $176 a month for people who travel through the 205 corridor during rush hour. And that's just to work and back if it happens to be again at rush hour.
2 trips a day, right?
Well, one trip to work and one trip back is $176. I've been contacted by a lot of people in West Lynn and Wilsonville and around Gladstone who commute to Tigard, Tualatin for work. And I'm hearing a common theme that says, well, geez, I take my kids to school or to, it might not be public school, but they take their kids to school. They go through the corridor twice a day, back and forth. That'd be $350 a month. That's a lot of money. I'm actually very concerned about the cost of transportation, the cost of food. I'm constantly hearing and seeing myself personally, the cost of food, even for myself and my wife, our food bill has gone up $50 a month, or week, not a month, a week. It used to be about $125. Her bill just the other day was $185. So that's $60, but on average it's about $50 a week. That's $200 a month. I know we can bear that, but I just get very concerned about all the people out there that cannot afford to do that. And so I would urge people, if you know of a nonprofit that is helping people like these good folks here today, to contribute or find a way to help. Food there's a big challenge right now. There's a shortage of people donating. So I just urge people to be mindful, and us also as elected officials to be mindful that we don't pass any further burdens on, to those who are barely hanging on. Chair, that's all I have for today.
Very well said, and thank you. I agree with all your comments tonight. Up next, Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, thank you, and good evening. On this nice day in Clackamas County, we've been talking about things that can improve the lives of our people, and I want to do the same thing here in these comments. First of all, I'd like to talk about law and order. We are being subjected to a scourge of shoplifting, and not just in our county, but throughout the region. We have some Senate bills, Senate Bill 318 and Senate Bill 340, which if passed will help our communities fight the shoplifting epidemic, and also would increase the jail sentences for people caught in organized crime in this regard. So I encourage everyone to look at Senate Bill 318 and Senate Bill 340, contact your state representative, and get involved with taking action to help our retailers, many of whom are closing the doors. On tolling, like Commissioner Savas just mentioned, is a growing problem. On the 7th of March, the City of Lake Oswego City Council had a meeting that was open to representatives from counties and cities in the area. They talked about the effects of tolling on families and neighborhoods. As you know, ODOT's planning to toll I-205. At the meeting, it was evident that people are getting tired of hearing, quote, "we don't know," from ODOT in response to the questions from people and from cities. The Lake Oswego Council President John Wendland said on the 7th of March, quote, "They, ODOT, are going through a process and they really don't care. That is the bottom line," unquote. And I agree with him. People need to go to OregonTolling.org, view the urban mobility strategy slides, and make a public comment. That period ends on 7 March. We have opportunity to at least shake the tree a little bit. Make a comment. Also, for those people who have not looked at the Vehicle Transportation Alliance on Facebook, that is a good source of information on tolling. Also, we have the votebeforetolls.org, where you can get a petition, download it. If they get 156,000 signatures or thereabouts, we can put tolling on the November 2024 ballot, and you can vote yes or no on tolling. I'd like to thank the CPOs of the Sunnyside CPO and Boring CPO for the opportunity in this last week to meet with them and talk to them and discuss some of the big issues that are affecting the county. Anybody in the county who lives in an unincorporated area who is not already involved in their community planning organization, you can go to the clacmas.us/community/CPO, find your CPO, point of contact, and get involved, because the CPOs and what they do really help us here in the county. On Measure 110, the people of this state were misled prior to the vote on this measure in 2020. It was presented to them as a way to make screening, health assessment, and treatment recovery services for drug addiction available. It has not worked that way. The reality is that Measure 110, being the first measure in the country to decriminalize the killer drugs, I call them killer drugs because that's what they are. The fact is that Measure 110 reduced the possession of these drugs to a Class E violation with a maximum penalty of a $100 fine or a health assessment. And today, only a handful of people who have been fined have agreed to a health assessment, and even fewer to receive addiction counseling. Measure 110 removed our judicial system's legal authority to court order people to addiction treatment and recovery support services, because now it's only a Class E violation, and that's not a crime. Measure 110 was also funded by tens of millions of dollars of state marijuana taxes that used to go to schools, mental health addiction services, state police, cities, counties, and drug prevention programs. So again, here we are at a time where our sheriff deputies are spending the lion's share of their shift reacting to problems that can be directly related back to Measure 110. That is not what we spend these many millions of dollars for our sheriff's department. We want them to get out there and be able to enforce our laws and not spend all their time on drug-related issues. So again, it's time for people to get motivated, contact your state rep, your state senator, and see what they can do to repeal Measure 110 as soon as possible. Also, on law and order, here in the county and all counties in this nation are having to react to problems that result from a porous border and from points of entry of killer drugs that are being inadequately serviced by our federal government. And there's no amount of money in this state or in this county that can prevent the effects of these drugs that come across the border and can be from Tijuana to Clackamas County in less than 24 hours. Again, I believe it's the responsibility of every resident to become active, contact, in this case, your Senators Wyden and Merkley, and your representative to the U.S. House of Representatives, and demand that the administration in Washington, D.C. control the border, thereby increasing the safety of our families, our communities. And finally, a thought for today. With your civic action, and I'm talking about every individual person in this county, it's your responsibility. Your civic action will transform a piece of paper called the Declaration of Independence and a piece of paper called the U.S. Constitution into a dynamic, living document with the force of your active responsibility behind it. This is what being an American is. It's about responsibility. And I thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. Commissioner West, you're next.
That's hard to follow.
I'm sure you
That
can
was
handle it.
hard. You know, I'll manage. But that is hard to follow, and I agree with every word out of your mouth. It is urgent. You know, I'm going to add on to the Measure 110 and the border issue only because media has been asking me, because these policies impact us locally in our communities, and these bad policies at the border and the stuff with the cartel are killing people in Clackamas County. And it's time for the U.S. government to treat these cartels like terrorist organizations and not just some type of police action. Maybe some of these cartel members need to feel an American Hellcat and stop poisoning our communities. I'm super proud. It recently came out that Clackamas County is super innovative in fighting this mess that bad policy and bad leaders have passed in Oregon. And one of the ways we're doing that is they have specially trained dogs now that can smell fentanyl. And it's just a super innovative way that most counties don't have that asset yet. But in Clackamas County, being really thinking forward, our deputies in our sheriff's office are trying to fight this thing every single day. All of us have been on ride-alongs where we have seen fentanyl flooded into our communities. It feels like it's as prevalent as Skittles, and it is everywhere. And so I'm proud of our men and women in law enforcement that are finding these innovative ways and these really cool dogs that can smell this stuff out and help keep our communities safer. Over the last week, I was actually in D.C. And had an opportunity while I was there to spend a few days with our congressional delegation. I spent time with Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer and also Congresswoman Salinas for the 6th Congressional District. And Lori Chavez-DeRemer represents the 5th, which is the biggest chunk of Clackamas County. With both of the representatives, I talked about the importance of the Abernathy Green project that we have coming up. I gave them a one-pager explaining to them the RAISE grant that we've talked about to see if they could be helpful on a federal level to help maybe get that additional funding for that important piece of development that may be happening in Clackamas County and Oregon City. When I was with Lori Chavez-DeRemer, I got to sit down with the Siletz tribe, which intersects with Clackamas County, one of the First Nations or Native American tribes here, and that was a great opportunity. While I was there, the Clackamas County firefighters were there, building strong relationships with them as first responders, more stuff around law and order, finding how we can continue to be good partners with our first-hand responders, and that was a great opportunity. And then spending a lot of time and a lot of commonality with Congresswoman Salinas and Lori Chavez-DeRemer, both really mirroring our concern in how we handle addiction, homelessness, and mental health issues. A lot of commonality that was not divided by party, but very much about trying to solve this human need. And so that was really exciting, sharing with them what it means to focus on recovery-oriented systems of care, where we deal with root causes and we get people clean and self-sufficient, and how we believe that's a better model than harm reduction and a lot of the money being thrown with Housing First. And so that was fantastic, both of those conversations. And I'm also really excited to serve with this board because there's no daylight between anybody on this board and trying to stop tolling. Chair Smith has been a fantastic leader on this issue across the state and with our leaders. Paul Savis's institutional knowledge on this allows us to be incredibly evidence-based and savvy on how we've handled this. And, you know, Shoal and I have a lot of passion on this issue too, and so does Martha Schrader. Brings a lot of compassion on why this is bad for our community. So all of us are laser focused on doing everything we can. We just, you know, let ODOT have it when they came before us. We were professional, but we were very firm in standing up for Clackamas County, and I think we all should be heartened that we're going to continue to do that going forward and trying to stop tolling. And so, yeah, it's been a fun week, and I look forward to the next one that we're about to embark on as we continue to do good things for Clackamas County.
Thank you, Commissioner West. Commissioner Schrader, are you still with us?
Yes, Chair Smith, I am with you. And I wanted to talk about a few things tonight that I've been working on. One of the key issues that I have kept a close eye on in my Community Economic Development and Workforce Committee is the basically reauthorization of what's happening here now. You're going to hear barking dogs in the background at this point.
What barking dogs?
You can't hear them?
Oh, no, we can hear them.
You can hear them, okay. Who let the dogs out? Not me. Okay. One of the things I've been working on very closely with our congressional delegation and my colleagues at the National Association is the reauthorization of the Farm Bill, which is crucial to our county. And I wanted to talk specifically tonight about one title of the Farm Bill, which is Title VI, which is Rural Development. The Rural Development title supports rural business and community development. It addresses a wide range of policy issues concerning rural America, including equity, capital development in rural areas, regional economic planning and development, essential community facilities, water and wastewater infrastructure needs, as well as broadband development. So I've been following this very closely because particularly I think that our rural communities, the Cambys, the Estacadas, the Sandys, could have potential access to some significant programs working with us in order to funnel infrastructure and economic development dollars into their communities. That includes investments like rural broadband, the Reconnect Loan and Grant Program, which provides grants and loans for construction, improvement, or acquisition of facilities and equipment needed to provide broadband. Community Connect Grant Program, which provides funding for broadband services, the telecommunications infrastructure loan and loan guarantee plan, and also distance learning and telemedicine program. These are all areas that have been traditionally, believe it or not, in the Farm Bureau. They contribute to the economic development and prosperity of our rural communities. And I've been watching it very closely. And as the Farm Bill moves forward for reauthorization, there are other significant segments of this that actually apply to our rural communities as well. But there's so many of them, including nutrition, trade is one piece, conservation, so on and so forth, that this is a very important bill for our county as a rural county. Much like Commissioner West, I did have an opportunity not too long ago to meet with Senator Merkley. And when you look at the conversation I had with him, I had an opportunity to encourage him to continue to support program, PILT, which is payment in lieu of taxes, because 51% of our land mass in Clackamas County is essentially federal forest land, which means we get no property taxes. We don't get any dollars to help us for the infrastructure for any area of our county. That has been an essential program for us, and I was very happy to meet with him personally, to give him a 2 thumbs up for that, and I believe he's on board, and I believe it's going to be something essential that we continue to track and we continue to move forward. Finally, I wanted to let folks know that in terms of our workforce initiative, I have been with my policy advisor, actually, and tomorrow I will also be going out with her, visiting the kinder care facilities in our county. As you know, with the CHIPS Act that is being pushed forward by our government at this point in order to compete in the world global economic development market and chips production, so we don't lose our competitiveness. There is also going to be a requirement that any new chips plant that is built also provides childcare. Colleagues, I don't know if you're aware of that, but evidently that is a rule that's being inculcated to the CHIPS Act. So I've been thinking of how do we implement that? So part of my job has been at this point to visit the kinder care facilities, take a look at what they do, how they do it, the quality of their child care program, and the models they use to contract with the private sector in order to provide adequate child care for people who want to return to the workforce, continue in the workforce, but one of their hurdles is having adequate child care. So basically, I know that I'm going to speak to the choir when I say this. This has been an initiative of Clackamas Workforce Partnership. It will not only include groups like Kinder Care, but the mom and pops that are also working to make sure children get daycare, other standalone daycare systems. It's extremely important because we are finding that one of the issues we're having with an adequate workforce to work in our factories, to work in our businesses, to work in our professional services, to work in any area of even government. I know my own policy advisor and our policy advisors are using daycare and childcare. We have to have adequate daycare and childcare so our workforce can get back to work, be on the ground, make sure their kids from pre-kindergarten up to junior high school are getting what they need so their families can prosper. So those are the initiatives I've been working on. I want to thank you for letting me attend virtually tonight. I appreciate it, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. We've all been working on the homeless situation, and I had the opportunity to testify in the legislature on a bill that's very near and dear to my heart. Last fall, I got an email from a constituent, a woman named Linda, just outside the city of Sandy, and she had been reported for a code violation. The code violation was that she parked a RV on her property to allow her sister to live in it. Her sister was recently widowed, and they lost the home. She had 2 small children. I said, oh, well, I'll go to our county permit department and fix that for you. Makes sense, right? Come to find out, it's not a county ordinance or even a rule. It's a state land use law that prevents the parking of motorhomes for more than a couple weeks on a property. So through a long series of events, we have this bill in Salem sponsored by a state senator. And I was telling the folks about it. I says, this is a classic example of government policy and a government rule that is enhancing and contributing to the homeless situation, not only in the Clackamas County, but all over the state. We tried to find her a place to move her motorhome to. All RV parks, as you know, are full. And I said that to the committee. And I said also, we get a lot of complaints of RVs being parked on the sides of roads. We see abandoned RVs. We see people living in RVs. And this is just one little area that I think that would help. It's not going to solve all the problems of homelessness because we look at it in multifaceted opportunities where we can to make a difference. And so I testified on that on Monday. The committee really liked it. I think it's going to pass out of the Senate. It will go to the House. and hopefully passed there. We have many letters of support of folks that I've never even heard of. But of course, there's always the naysayers. There was only one naysayer. Mainly it was a NIMBY situation, not in my backyard. So the challenge that we're faced as policymakers at this dais is everybody wants us to fix the homeless situation. You've got to do something, you've got to do it now. They're camping in front of my businesses. They're destroying this, they're doing this, all these things, these bad things. Crime is on the rise. But then when we want to do something about it, we get pushback. No, don't do that here. Move it down the road. But as policymakers, we have to make tough decisions, and not everybody's going to agree with. So I'm really happy, I'm really excited about that bill. Hopefully it'll come out of the legislature. On another note, because I'm chair of this commission, I get to serve on the Tri-County Planning Body for the metro tax that came. Actually, Clackamas County voters voted no on the income tax for the homeless, but because we're joined with Metro, we're part of it anyway. And there's two different taxes. Before that was the bond that the county voted yes on because it was for housing. This is the special homeless services, wraparound services. And so I had 2 meetings this week on it, listening to my cohorts in Washington and Multnomah County. And it's very interesting. Just so you know, the 3 chairs meet weekly in a phone call, and we compare notes, and we learn about each other's counties. Multnomah County situation is a little bit different than ours, as we know. We do not want to become Portland or any way like them, and so we look at the situation differently. And so it's a really good learning opportunity. We'd like to move faster than we are, so hopefully we have some added energy with that and getting the dollars out the door. The huge irony of this is, on certain projects, we have a lot of money. It is almost insane how much money we have. But it's only for special projects, and it's only for special boundaries, the metro urban growth boundary. So that's a big challenge to us, and there's very few places where we can site these facilities. And I always made the statement that the taxes that Clackamas County citizens paid will stay in Clackamas County and not go to Portland. I was very firm about that, but quite frankly, folks, I'm not so sure that's going to happen, because there's a great need in Portland for this money, and every time this commission wants to site a facility and do something, the uprising against us is tremendous. So I think I can no longer promise that taxes by Clackamas County taxpayers will stay in Clackamas County. It's very difficult. And as you know, Governor Kotek declared a state of emergency for homeless. So I talk with her about it every week. She calls and checks in. And we had a unique situation come our way. One of our housing authority, we have really good housing people at Clackamas County, says, I got this contract back from a nonprofit and it wasn't enough money. I says, what? He says, no, I was looking at it, they were paying their caseworkers too low. I says, really? He says, yeah, a caseworker making $21 an hour. If you pay a caseworker $21 an hour at that rate, they're going to be homeless pretty soon themselves. You make that at McDonald's. And so he gave me the pay scale on it. Minimum of $26. And these is very skilled people. I would not want to do the work that a case manager does for the homeless people. Or $29, but he says a retention rate really needs to be $31 an hour, and you're going to keep your good people. That's a $10 an hour raise. But the nonprofit told us they can't do it because of the Equal Pay Act that the legislature passed several years ago. Equalizing pay within your organization. I says, what? Oh yeah, the Equal Pay Act is preventing Clackamas County from giving raises to caseworkers. Said I got it handled. I'm talking with the governor later this afternoon. Well, the governor was Speaker of the House when they passed this. So I says to the governor, I says, look, I explained the situation. Well, you declared an emergency in Clackamas County and the Tri-Counties for homeless. I think through your emergency declaration, you can do something about the equal pay. Make it so. I explained the whole thing to her. She goes, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. I had no idea. And I says, you know how hard it is to attract workers these days. We have got to pay them. We have got to retain them. She says, well, as far as I'm concerned, you just pay them whatever you want. Do I need a legal analysis? I says, I don't know, it's your law, it's not mine. So she's going to go back, do a legal analysis. We have the staff working on it together, and I think we will get there. But I want to say is the collaboration that we have with entities whom you normally wouldn't think you'd be collaborating on because you don't like what's happening in their jurisdictions, or maybe you think, the governor who, we didn't know who was going to be governor. We didn't know how she was going to be on the homeless and housing situation. I think can help. And I've been talking and working with her, and I really find her to be pragmatic. She tends to look at the numbers, and she tried to say, Clackamas County, you need to do it this way. Says, Gov, you know what? That's not going to work. You know why? Because in Clackamas County, we do it this way. We do it the Clackamas County way. I know you want to be successful in your emergency declaration. So can we work together to iron out maybe some of the bumps and we just go forward? I'm not always going to get my way. Portland's not always going to get their way. But it's a situation where we learn from each other and we have great conversations. And we just keep doing what we can do on this issue. It's very difficult. This board is so dedicated. I have never worked with a group of people who all are in and trying to solve this problem. We each have our ideas. We each look at it from a different angle, right? And we're just going forward on it. Well, Gary, I think that's all. We've been a bit long-winded tonight. Seeing no further business before this board, we are adjourned.